Mendeecees, missing teeth, and Tamar Braxton. Shouting is not how the moment begins. It begins with a long, hesitant pause, the sort that weighs more than rage. The camera is in motion. With narrowed eyes and a tense yet measured voice, the host leans slightly forward. He acknowledges that he isn't sure how to tackle this story at all. He doesn't agree with the version being told, not because it's ambiguous. He claims that he is still unsure of how to react to Tamar. As he turns to Tamar's most recent interview, that uneasiness lingers. Not much of it is repeated by him. He does not need to. It only takes a moment. Tamar claims she has no idea what truly occurred to her. She talks about a typical night that starts with a party and friends leaving for home. But she doesn't go into detail. No responses. Just aftermath, and that's when things get tense. The host looks away from the video and speaks to her directly. His voice becomes harsher. He claims that she is only doing enough, claiming merely sufficient to raise suspicions without making any specific statements. Enough to spark blogs. Enough that the holes can be filled by the internet. Enough to later claim innocence and take a back seat. The line that explodes the room comes next. "You were a damned bald-headed, bold-faced liar." Within minutes, he accuses her outright of lying. Social media is booming. Viewers analyze each word of the interview with Tamar. Commenters disagree over what she said and didn't say. Some say she's defending herself. Some say she's completely reinventing the evening. The headline that is quickly becoming viral on the internet is stacked on top of everything. Doctors, according to Tamar Braxton, confirmed a diagnosis that would change her life after spending the evening spent with Mendeecees. Here's the issue, though. There is no diagnosis, no physician, and no confirmation in the video under discussion, just a narrative that keeps circling the same unresolved query. How is it possible for someone to wake up hurt, say they nearly died, and then claim they have no idea what happened? That bothers me. I'm telling you straight out that you were a bold-faced baldhead, and I don't appreciate that at all. The host starts tugging at that strand. The locations, the journeys, the people who went upstairs, remained, and left. One thing becomes unavoidable as the internet takes sides. If Tamar claims she is unaware of what transpired that evening, it is obvious that someone else believes she is. And in accordance with, to him, the truth is being avoided rather than being absent. After the accusation is made, the narrative slows down. And that's where the pain truly starts. Because what comes after the insult and the rage is reconstruction rather than chaos. According to a meticulous, detailed account of the night tamer, she is unable to recall anything. Provided by an insistent, he can recall every detail. He begins by completely rejecting the framing. He claims that this had nothing to do with Tamar hosting a friend's birthday celebration. He declares the story to be untrue from the beginning. Not false, not misinterpreted, not incorrect. And it seems to have hurt him personally. He claims it puts him in a narrative where he doesn't fit, not because of his reputation. He claims he doesn't like the birthday party narrative and rejects it. What he lays out instead is mundane, almost aggressively normal. A group of people searching for a place to eat. Calls made, restaurants closed, a suggestion to meet at a familiar steakhouse. As if to eliminate any feeling of occasion, he highlights how unceremonious everything was. And Tamar subsequently suggested that there were no celebration setups or party signs, just individuals wandering about at night. He sets himself up there. Then, according to Tamarzo, Mendeecees shows up without warning and enters with another person. At first, he doesn't accuse. He doesn't assign labels. He simply emphasizes timing. They had only gotten together 3 times before. Abruptly, the energy is altered by another entity. The night continues to move after that. Another place, followed by another recommendation. A location known as Sauce. He claims he had no desire to go. He cares about that little detail. He says it again. He desired to return home. Despite this, he drives himself, reluctantly adhering to the plan till it changes once more. At that point, he says Tamar recommends getting out of the automobile. That you attended a buddy's birthday celebration and that friend mistreated you. Tamar. That is incorrect. And I don't think it's fair. And it feels good to simply leave the car at her place so they can go somewhere else together. The story isn't dramatic at this point. Instead, it's logistical. Where did they drive? Who was riding with whom? However, the tone continues to tighten, because every logistical detail is being utilized to refute something that Tamar subsequently made public. He continues bringing up the implication of that thought without making a statement. He stops and inquires as to why she would present the evening as though she had been kind to a friend who later mistreated her. He refers to it as unfair, not merely erroneous. He claims that it harmed his feelings, which is an uncommon emotional acknowledgement in the midst of rage. He presents himself as collateral damage in an attention-grabbing narrative. He claims that the story she crafted wounded his sentiments. After then, the analysis switches from timeline to motive. He charges Tamar with enjoying disruption on the internet, rushing to social media to cause uncertainty, and knowing precisely how to say enough to ignite blogs without getting bogged down in details. That's the pattern, he said. He raises a point that became crucial to the outcry on the internet. According to Tamar's, she awoke in a pool of blood. Nearly the relationship between you and Mandy, in front of me, was unbearable. All right, he would meet us at restaurants whenever we got together, and you would be sitting on top of him with your booty shorts throughout the song video. He doesn't replay the clip, but he makes clear references to it, which made me feel rather uneasy. Then he compares that to something else she mentioned, saying that someone at home advised her to call an ambulance. And she, when we returned to her house, we went upstairs with Tamar because I assumed they needed some privacy after she and Mendeecees had finished kissing in the back of that stupid automobile. I didn't go upstairs when we were dropped off at Tamar's place because of this. You were sitting on his lap in that goddamn Uber when she turned him down. So I got in my stupid car and drove home. It is impossible for those two things to coexist. Why turn down emergency assistance if someone was on the verge of death? It doesn't prove anything, he says. It implies something different, he claims. The internet quickly filled in theories at that time between nearly dying and there being no ambulance. The emphasis now shifts to a single connection in particular. Mendeecees and Tamar, the host, acknowledges something he claims to have kept to himself for a long time. He never felt at ease with how they engaged in conversation in front of him. He talks about times when he felt uncomfortable, physical familiarity, frequent encounters, and public proximity. He claims that their relationship made him uneasy. He emphasizes that Tamar's public reopening of the story is the only reason he is sharing it today, and he ceases to defend anyone after that. He describes returning to Tamar's house via automobile. She was perched on Mendeecees' lap, according to him. They were kissing, he claims. He claims that it caused him great discomfort. That discomfort turns into the secret. Justification for his own activities the evening. He didn't go upstairs when they got to Tamar's house. He claims that afterward he was questioned about it and accused of being a lousy friend. He gives a direct response. He thought Tamar and Mendeecees needed privacy, so he didn't go upstairs. He then got into his car and drove home. He clarifies why he avoided going upstairs. He draws a distinct line, which is when the story takes an abrupt turn. He departed. They remained. Additionally, he claims that only Tamar and Mendeecees' companion are aware of what transpired inside that residence. He makes no claim to be aware of what transpired. He makes the opposite claim. He maintains that he doesn't know. However, he also maintains that those who went upstairs should be the ones to know. And that's where he gets most frustrated. He wonders how Tamar can claim total ignorance of what transpired in her own house while being so confident about sneaking around, evading detection, and coordinating actions. He presents it as memory that is selective. Uncertainty is convenient. Online, that discrepancy is exploited by viewers. Remark sections immediately divided. Some claim that trauma can cause memory impairment. The gaps feel deliberate, according to some. The headline that is circulating more quickly than the video itself, which purports to be medical proof, is hanging over everything. Permanent effects of a diagnosis. However, within none of that is present in the actual transcript under discussion. The doctor doesn't say anything. There is no test result displayed. There is no specific diagnosis. Instead, there are accusations, animosity, and a call for responsibility not from the internet, but from Tamar herself. He makes an awkward concession at the end of this stretch. He is aware that speaking in this manner makes him appear untidy. He is aware that he will be accused of holding off on telling her. If it means rectifying what he believes to be a false narrative, he is willing to accept that name. Because in his view, mystery isn't the true problem. It's control of the story. And in his opinion, Tamar lost control. Of it when she pointed the world in the direction of everyone else and declared she had no idea what had happened, who walked upstairs and who didn't once the line was drawn. The whole narrative changes from not legal duty, but conjecture. Narrative responsibility, the kind that determines who the internet targets and believes. Tamar is not charged with any particular act by the host. He takes a more disturbing action. He identifies trends. He reminds the audience that he was uncomfortable at times prior to this interview, but he opted to ignore them because he thought silence was necessary for friendship. He now acknowledges that it might have been a mistake to remain silent. He returns to the frequency of Mendeecees showed up on nights out. Not once, not by accident, not more than once. Restaurants, music video sets, and public areas where closeness wasn't subtle. This wasn't just one odd evening, he said. Everyone in their immediate vicinity was aware of the ongoing dynamic, but they chose not to address it. Then he talks about how Tamar's online claim that she woke up hurt, disoriented, and on the verge of death turned public sentiment against him. The internet began looking for someone to blame right away. He claims to have seen it happen in real time. He observed others, assuming he was more knowledgeable than he actually was. He watched as comments began to accumulate, demanding explanations from him in particular. He claims that he remained silent because he was really unaware of what had happened to her. He departed, he returned home. That was the reality. However, the longer that day, since he will reveal all of your personal information. This woman had instructed me to shut up. As the theories grew stronger, he remained silent. He claims that many were anticipating his explanation of what transpired. However, he was unaware that the accusation wasn't the only thing bothering him. The imbalance was the cause. He claims that Tamar went online and let loose enough pieces to imply peril, enough to suggest misconduct without ever making it clear who was with her at the time. The outcome was expected. By omission, everyone else became suspects. He publicly questions the reasoning. If someone actually woke up, wouldn't the first thing to do if you were hurt but didn't know why? Make a call to the authorities, ask questions, and look for answers. Rather, months went by, interviews took place, stories changed. However, the main question was left unanswered. Why not do some research before you speak? This section revolves around that question, since it is the point at where skepticism and sympathy meet. Before I addressed it, viewers who believe Tamar contend that trauma does. She did, however, go out and claim that she nearly died for the record. 7,000 people were waiting They were waiting for me to tell them what had happened because they knew we had been together the previous evening. Doesn't make sense. Behavior is altered by shock. People are silenced by fear. Others, however, note that Tamar didn't hesitate to publicize the incident on social media. Just the reason stayed outside of the dash limitations. That discrepancy is taken personally by the host. He claims that he was the collateral damage because of the manner she presented the story. He turned into the untidy buddy who ought to have shielded her with the same contempt as that woman or whatever. What you don't know, though, is that the one who truly stuck with her was the one who let her down. There was hardly any mention of night. Here, he makes a startling confession. He claims that because of the way he spoke. He was aware that people would eventually accuse him of being callous, contemptuous, and even misogynistic about her thereafter. Although he acknowledges the critique, he maintains that context is important. He explains why, in his opinion, he called her disrespectful. He was detached because he was certain. Assurance that she hadn't experienced anything disastrous that evening. At least, not in the manner it was being propagated on the internet. He acknowledges that she was hurt. He disputes the mystery, encircling it. He believed that mystery was fabricated. Danes, that's where the talk starts. He discusses the medical aspect recovery, not diagnosis or test results. He brings up a video that someone else uploaded that purports to depict Tamar's wounds. He refers to it as untrue, claims that no one who has had such severe trauma recovers so rapidly. He doesn't cite doctors. Once again, he refers to common sense. Depending on their allegiance, the kind viewers either embrace or reject. Here, the audience's response breaks down even more. He is accused by several viewers of downplaying her suffering. Tamar is accused of hyperbole by others. The remarks turn into a referendum on who controls the truth when public personalities clash, not just on what transpired. The headlines, which are spreading more quickly than the facts, hang large over everything. Verified diagnosis claims, statements made by medical professionals. In the actual tape being examined, there are claims of permanent damage related to that night. That doesn't show up. Instead, there is anger about uninvited media storms. He claims that Tamar shouldn't be allowed to abruptly drag others into disarray before hiding behind ambiguity. Instead of framing it as a moral transgression, he frames it as a boundary infringement. Here, he acknowledges something more subdued but informative. He claims that long before this interview, he urged Tamar to stop making oblique references to him, to stop starting up conversations she wasn't going to finish, and to leave him alone. He claimed that she disregarded that request. He claims he told her to go away from him. He claims that he finally spoke because of that rejection. Not to reveal her, not to defend himself, but to rectify what he feels was a purposefully false account of what happened. Additionally, he temporarily focuses on only one individual. He claims that he really suffered as a result of all this. He makes it clear that Yandi was the only one who acted improperly in this circumstance. He doesn't grow. He doesn't dramatize given everything that has previously been written online. He leaves it there as a stark, unresolved point. Another firestorm is ignited by that line. He is accused of deflection by some. Some accuse Tamar of being careless, while others claim the blogs themselves are confirming implications. As this part comes to an end, one thing becomes evident. The goal here is not to prove what transpired above. It has to do with who profited from keeping it a secret. And whether the truth fits or not, the internet will continue to fill in the gaps as long as they exist. The discussion is no longer emotionally charged by the time this section of the remark takes place. It's controlled, icy, and nearly forensic. The host is no longer shouting. He is challenging the audience to examine how the pieces fit together by placing them on a table. He discusses how the internet instantly determined the plot of this story before determining what actually transpired. Tamar's public remarks solidified the story. Near death, language, injury, and mystery. Clarity would have slowed the emotional payoff, therefore viewers didn't wait for it. The public doesn't sit with unanswered questions, he claims. They are filled with it. And those replies become unchangeable once they are filled. He talks about seeing the narrative develop in real time. Concern came first, followed by sympathy, fury, and then accusation. Accusations are aimed at proximity rather than truth. Whoever was closest to Tamar becomes suspicious in social situations. The person who spoke less was found guilty. Anyone who attempted to rectify the framing turned harsh. He claims that restraint is not rewarded on the internet, it penalizes it. For this reason, in his opinion, Tamar's remark, "I don't know what happened," turned from a question to a shield. The audience was able to project whatever emotions made the most sense to them. That meant trauma to some. For other people, conspiracy. Cover up for others. And Tamar never had to explain who was there when things went awry. The host notes that this was not a singular media event. Tamar vanished without saying a word. She conducted interviews. She made an oblique reference to the evening. She didn't ground the story. Instead, she'll let it breathe. Every time, the same pattern, recurring consequences without a reason. He contends that narrative negligence is not justified by trauma. When additional individuals are drawn into the blast radius, particularly when those he reminds viewers that he asked for distance, not in private. But clearly, and that people specifically begged to be excluded. Whatever this was turning into, he did not want to be involved. Nevertheless, his name remained attached. He describes the mechanism of that attachment. Tamar never made a clear accusation against him. She didn't require to. She benefited from the ambiguity. The audience instinctively looked backward through the night in search of culprits. When she stated she woke up hurt and didn't know why, he became relevant because he had been there before. He refers to that tactic as familiar, not accidental, a means to start a conversation without taking responsibility for the outcome. He then slows down the narrative once more and walks through the aftermath not of the night, but of the story, including the calls, messages, presumptions.